Come on, it's ready, Vinny.
I'm after some more bread.
Tomorrow we eat sandwiches. You gotta go on a diet, Vinny.
Sandwiches are good.
Believe me.
A dining table brings people together. A vehicle for bonhomie, conviviality, love. But not always.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
As much as it's a place of togetherness and belonging, the dining table can be a conduit for tension, hostility, aggression, resentment. Eating is an intimate act, and doing it with other people is not always pleasant. Because of this, dining tables are extremely useful cinematic props. Shooting a scene around a table at which a meal is taking place gives the filmmaker a chance to bring an ensemble together,
Any more letters come?
providing an opportunity to map out and develop the lines of tension running between various characters.
Who's to say?
Celie, no! I can't see.
Here, the shared meal can be a site of ill will, an opportunity to express grievances, to criticise, to attack.
Come play with us.
4 words you will never hear from the NFL.
Who wants dessert?
It can be accompanied by awkward, stilted conversation, morose chewing under a cloud of silence, the air humming with tedium, anxiety, the chafe of obligation. A Dining Table is at the heart of A Woman Under the Influence, John Cassavetes' 1974 film about the sometimes intolerable pressures of family life. In a pivotal scene, construction worker Nick Longhetti, played by Peter Falk, comes home one morning. He's been out all night on a double shift, fixing a burst water main. Because of this emergency, he stood up his wife, Mabel, played by Jenna Rollins, who had sent their 3 children to her mother's house for an evening, so she and her husband could spend some time together. Nick and Mabel's house is crammed. The 2 adults sleep on a fold-out bed in the dining room. One of the doors leading out of this room has a sign reading, "Private," letting us know just how little privacy they have. Nick arrives home accompanied by his work crew, who slowly realise that they're intruding on a complicated situation. Last night, Mabel, feeling abandoned, went out, got drunk, and brought a stranger back to the house.
Why don't we go to some place where it's a little quieter?
In the morning, she seems to not recognise that this man is not her husband. He's gone. She's on edge. Still, she does what's asked of her when Nick returns.
You know everybody?
What do you cook first thing in the morning for your husband and 8 other men, his friends and colleagues, who have been working all night?
Would you like some spaghetti?
The meal does not go well. None of the guests know what to say or how to respond to Mabel, who is too much for them. She sits at the head of the table, the private sign above her head, and one by one she says hello to the men, who are reticent and awkward.
Morton. Joseph. Cheese?
She starts flirting with one man, Billy, who becomes visibly uncomfortable.
Okay, come on, let's dance.
Nah, I bet not.
Look at this muscle. I
That's
never
enough.
saw such muscles. I bet it didn't fit in his suit.
Maybe.
Come on.
Fit.
You had your fun's enough.
Before Nick shouts at her, and there's an eruption of violence.
Get your ass down!
The meal, already ruined, comes to an end with a phone call from Nick's mother.
My mother, she's got a pain in her abdomen.
His crew file out uncomfortably, with looks of relief.
You gotta call him, you gotta explain to him where the pain...
During the meal, we never get a master shot of the whole table, nothing that shows a shared experience. Instead, the camera work reiterates how fractured and isolated the characters are. It's not always easy to know who's speaking.
With me. We are dinner.
People talk over each other. They speak when they're out of shot, interrupting the flow of the scene. The camera frames the side of someone's head too closely. Shots are interrupted by people leaning forward or by hands reaching across the table to grab cutlery, wine glasses, bread. The camera work and editing create an atmosphere of tension and disruption at the same time as they recreate the chaos of a large shared meal. This mix of cheerfulness and neurotic tension. Cassavetes took 3 days to get this scene right. It was rehearsed repeatedly, first without the spaghetti and then about 30 times with it. The film's producer was in the kitchen simmering batch after batch of sauce. Cassavetes obtained 110 boxes of pasta from a manufacturer with the promise that he'd show the packaging in the film, and then reneged on it. At first, the men, many of whom were not professional actors, were acting too likeable, trying to be charming, good guests, telling stories or jokes, trying to make the meal a success.
Oh, man, come on.
Whoa, please. All over my shoes.
Cassavetes did not want the meal to be a success. He wanted his actors to allow their real personalities to show.
What's your name?
Terrific.
Fred, jeez.
Grimaldi, Vito Grimaldi. Friend of Nick.
The scene has the uncomfortable air of improvisation, but it was tightly honed and practiced. Later in the film, there's another devastating scene around the same table. After some erratic behaviour, Mabel is committed to an institution. She comes home, burnt out, only to find that Nick has organised a party for her, and then cancelled it and sent everyone home at the last minute, except the immediate family. They all sit down around the same table at which the spaghetti breakfast took place. This time, Nick and Mabel sit next to each other, opposite everyone else. Someone brings food in from the kitchen, but nobody eats. This meal is also a failure.
All right, that's the end of the jokes. Sit down. That's the end of the jokes. Now we kill the jokes and we just talk. Hello, how are you? Conversation. Weather. Conversation.
These scenes are painful to watch because they explore the deep loneliness that comes from the inability to truly connect with your loved ones.
Why?
That the dining table is in the same room in which Nick and Mabel sleep and have sex makes the loneliness even sharper. Nick loves Mabel, but he doesn't understand her. She's too much for him, too strange.
Now listen to me.
He wants her to be the kind of woman who happily cooks spaghetti for 10 first thing in the morning. To be the kind of woman who can make that experience fun, spontaneous, but without getting too involved in it.
Did you eat?
No.
Oh, Nick, you must be starving.
And so, the dinner table becomes a site of failure, a place of hurt. Mabel sits facing her husband, his friends, their family, and is confronted by the inescapable fact that she's not right for them. That they want her to be someone that she isn't. In the end, Nick and Mabel are stuck, kept together by the intensity of their love, but separated by the insurmountable distance between them, an abyss the length of a dining table.